Good evening and welcome to the April 11th Glendale City Council meeting. Roll call, please.
Council members Garpetian.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Sinanian.
Here.
Mayor Devine.
Here. Next item.
Next item is a flag salute led by Council member Sinanian, followed by the invocation. Please rise.
Please join me in pledging allegiance to our nation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for this evening's invocation. Tonight, as we enter the month of remembrance, let us take a moment to reflect upon the events that take place outside of these chambers that touch the lives of many of our residents and stakeholders in Glendale and throughout our great nation. Let us pray for the innocent families who suffer wherever war still wages on earth. Let us pray for those who have lost loved ones to senseless and random acts of gun violence. And let us pray for the memory of the millions of innocent lives that were lost over 100 years ago during the Armenian genocide. May their souls find peace and their descendants find justice. We pray for those brave American missionaries and officials like United States Ambassador Henry Morgenthau and Asa Jennings of the YMCA in Smyrna, who saved countless Armenian and Greek lives and documented what they saw, hoping that the horrors they witnessed would never be repeated. Let us pray for those who work hard to raise awareness about human rights violations, especially violence against children and genocides of past and present, to end this cycle of murder. May they be blessed in their righteous cause, those who fight against these injustices. We pray for peace and harmony amongst all people of the world, tonight and forever. Amen.
Amen.
And next item.
Next item is the report of the clerk. The agenda for the April 11th, 2017 regular meeting of the Glendale City Council was posted on Friday, April 7th, 2017 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you. And next item.
At 3 is presentation and appointments. At 3A is agenda preview for the meetings of Tuesday, April 18th, 2017. Madam Mayor and Council, there will be no Housing Authority and City Council meetings on April 18th and April 25th, 2017. Those meetings are dark. The next regular meeting is scheduled for May 2nd, 2017, and the reorganization of the City Council and the selection of a mayor will take place on May 1st at 8 p.m. on Monday, May 1st, 8 p.m. in these council chambers.
Thank you. Okay, next item.
Next item is 3B, proclamation declaring the week of April 24th, 2017 as a week of remembrance.
Thank you. And we have Eliza, Mr. Ochoa.
Yes, ma'am. I believe we have members. There she is. Eliza, are you going to introduce the committee? Eliza Papazian is the person spearheading
Mayor Devine and members of council.
Or just cut me off.
Or just cut you off. I can do that.
Is this your first time getting up in front of the council?
It was, and I was going to wait
This is your first time.
wait until the proclamation was read, but I'll go ahead.
Rookie mistake.
Dear Mayor Devine and members of council, I'm Eliza Papazian. I'm heading the commemorative event committee this year. And on behalf of our commemorative event committee members, some of whom are here today with us, we would like to thank you for recognizing the atrocities that began in 1915 and proclaiming the week of April 24th as the week of remembrance. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I'll go ahead and read the proclamation, and then I'll invite the members of the committee to come on up. Whereas the City of Glendale believes that cultural diversity is achieved when our entire community acknowledges that its wholeness is based on the unique strength of each of its community members. Today, we can no longer innocently harbor feelings of superiority and separation in our society. And whereas many in our community who are of Armenian descent lost a significant number of family members, belongings, and heritage in the Armenian genocide, the hurt is deep, and we look forward to a time when the tragedy will be universally acknowledged. And whereas we appreciate the efforts of the community volunteers in organizing the Week of Remembrance to commemorate and recognize April 24th as Armenian Genocide Day, and urge our representatives and elected officials in Washington, D.C. to do the same. And whereas we encourage the community to support and actively participate in the annual events of commemoration and remembrance, and to increase their efforts to educate our community not only about the Armenian genocide, but all of man's inhumanity to man. Now, therefore, I, Paula Devine, Mayor of the City of Glendale, proclaim the week of April 24th, 2017, as the Week of Remembrance, and invite all members of our community to participate in the activities and the events of the Week of Remembrance. So can I have the committee come forward and say a few words?
I would welcome our committee members up to the podium. We have Arlette, Ara, Peter, Giro, and Dan, who are here in attendance today.
Okay, all right. Thank you. I want to take the opportunity while Dan is coming up here to thank all the committee members, and I know that Councilmember Najarian is also the chair.
Co-chair with you, Madam
with
Mayor.
me. Well, that's true for the committee, and I know it's going to be a wonderful week of remembrance and celebration. Can I invite Peter Arlette? I'd like to say a few words. Oh, okay.
Madam Mayor, council members, I'm Ara Aronian. I've been serving on this commemorative committee for the past 16 years. In fact, I'm a founding member of this committee, and here we are again to have a week of remembrance for the week of the 24th of April, the whole week, and I guess we have almost 5 events lined up during that week. And really this year, Man's Inhumanity Against Man, we have 2 events. One of them will be at the Parker Plaza next Tuesday on the 18th, which will be the Poetry Night for high school students. And on the 20th, on Thursday, we're going to have another event at the Brand Library, which will be this year dedicated to the Assyrian genocide. It's something that involves man's humanity against man as atrocities that was committed back in 2015. And since it's a week of remembrance, so we decided to have another community to join us on that date. So we welcome everyone to those events, and thank you again.
As a chair to Man's Inhumanity to Man events of this year, we have a fantastic program. The first night on the 18th starts with the young people in our community. Our school district has cooperated with us and GCC as well. So we have our young people express what they know of what goes on in the world and their pain and anguish, and their voice is going to be heard. I would like to invite all of you and the community to come and participate because it's a phenomenal event. I'm so proud to see that our young are aware of what goes on in the world, and they do care, most importantly, of what happens. So it's a night to share. And as Ara said, for the Assyrians, we know that they have been an ancient culture subject to genocide and annihilation. So we are very proud to have that. And on top of that, April 24th is a special event that thank you, and thank you, and thank you for the city, for the council, for supporting such activities in our community. Thank you.
Anyone else? Peter?
Just one word. First, a thank you for the City Council and for the City Glendale for diligently commemorating April 24th for the past 16 years. It is a commemoration of life. It will not end till our claims are recognized. And we do hope that our new president will make it part of his legacy to accept April 24th for our country as the day of the Armenian genocide. It's unfortunate that because it is not accepted, genocides continue to happen daily basis, yearly basis, and even today, the genocides are happening in the Middle East. Let us all together hold hands and get us with our strength to accept this genocide so all other genocide will not happen and it will end. Again, I thank you all, and I thank the committee for their diligence in doing it. It's amazing work that they do. And thank you all.
Okay, Laura, do you want to get down?
Let me just add, Madam Mayor, that the members of the committee talked about the events. Poetry Night is the first one on Tuesday, April 18th at 5:30 here in Parcher Plaza. And then on Thursday, there will be the discussion of the Assyrian genocide. That's at 6:30, reception, program at 7:30. That's at the Brand Library. And the main event, if you will, for the city is the Armenian Genocide commemorative event, Monday, April 24th at 7 p.m. We'll have the keynote speaker, Mr. Robert Avedisian. He's the permanent representative of the Nagorno-Karabakh Republic to the United States. We'll have performances by the one and only Harut Pambukjian, Nareg Markarian, the Zavartnotes Dance Ensemble, the Glendale High School Choir, and selections from Denise Gentilini's musical, I Am Alive. Tickets are free, but you have to pick them up at the Alex Theater box office, the Americana at Brand Concierge Services desk, or the Glendale Community College main office. Everyone can pick up 4 tickets maximum. This usually sells out. There's folks waiting outside, so please get your tickets early. This will be, again, one in a long line of excellent commemorative events for the city of Glendale.
And I want to put a plug in for the Poetry Night because I was happy to participate in selecting the poems that will be read by the writers, the high school and college students. They are phenomenal, and it will certainly be an evening to remember. And so I invite everyone to be there on Tuesday night. You won't regret it. It's fabulous. So let's present the commendation, the proclamation. All right. And next item.
Next item at 3C is the proclamation declaring National Library Week.
I think we have Cindy Cleary for this one. Okay.
Good evening, Council, members of staff, City Manager. We're very delighted to be here tonight to celebrate National Library Week, and there are a couple things that we have to celebrate. One is it's fine-free week, so if you have books that are overdue, bring them to the library. And secondly, we have the formation of our foundation. I have members of the foundation with me tonight who will accept the proclamation. And most of all, we're celebrating the grand reopening of Central Library on May 1st. So to start this off, we wanted to show you a quick 2-minute video that GTV6 put together for us, previewing all the great things that are coming up. Hello, my name is Cindy Cleary, and I'm the Director of the Library Arts and Culture Department. On behalf of the City of Glendale, I am happy to announce that our reimagined Central Library will be reopening on Monday, May 1st. We have all sorts of exciting activities planned for that day, so I hope you'll come and join us and celebrate with us this grand reopening. We were built in 1973. Libraries have changed tremendously since that time, and it was time for an upgrade. So in July of 2015, we closed our doors, and we've been in renovation ever since. Well, libraries traditionally have been about books and have been about coming to the library and asking questions, but libraries have become community centers, they've become tech centers. There were a lot of upgrades that had to be done in order to accommodate a 21st century library. We are so excited about all the new amenities that will be in the library. One is a makerspace. Makerspace is a place where people tinker and create and collaborate. We're going to be having upgraded performance spaces, so an upgraded auditorium, a catering kitchen that'll be with the auditorium. We're going to have 70 computers scattered around the library. We will have 6 new conference rooms. We've added more study tables. We have something called the reading spa on the second level that used to be office space, but now is space available to the public. It's a place where people can come, connect with other people, and celebrate our community. Mark your calendars for May 1st. I invite you to join me and the staff and the community to celebrate this grand occasion.
So do we have the foundation members here? And you're also having the gala Friday. Are you going to talk about that?
So I'd like to introduce our president, Joylene Wagner, and board member Jane Bayar.
Sharon Garrett.
And Sharon Garrett, staff.
Come on forward. Well, thank you, Mayor Devine and council members. And on behalf of the board, come on a little closer. The board members who could be here for providing the real foundation upon which our library is built and its branches. As you know, our foundation was formed in response to a very generous bequest from the estate of Robert Seiden. Our task is to manage that gift, to help build on it so that it can continue to provide support and programming and equipment beyond the ability of the city and the city's budget. So far, we've been really excited, Sharon Garrett in particular, to help equip the makerspace. She's been checking out the sewing machines and the recording studio. But we look forward to other ways that we will be supporting the library itself and our sister support organizations, the Friends of the Library and Brand Associates. I think we're sort of like the three-legged stool of support and civic engagement for the library. So we're very excited and look forward. And we invite you, now Cindy says you all received your invitations to be the first to come see the reimagined library. And as Cindy said, it's the new ways that a library can serve our community. So we're excited. April 28th in the evening, the community is welcome, and you can find information at www.glendalelibraryfoundation.org. The invitations are there. Okay. So Friday, April 28th, we'll have a preview.
Great.
So is that when your gala is?
That's when our gala is. Okay. You'll get to tour around and hear music and have fun.
It's going to be lovely.
And eat. We'll have good food. Eat, drink, and be merry in the library, which is nothing that you would ever see in what is it?
I don't know.
The Music Man. It's not that kind of library. It's not the hush library anymore.
Okay, the proclamation reads, whereas the Library Arts and Culture Department will join libraries around the United States to celebrate National Library Week, April 9th through the 15th, and whereas the Central Library will reopen to the public on Monday, May 1st, after a 2-year, $15 million renovation, and whereas the resources at the Central Library will enable the community to retrieve content and to create new content, and whereas the newly formed Glendale Library Foundation will hold a creation celebration and reopening gala fundraiser on Friday, April 28th to support the Makerspace, the Remembrance Room, a recording studio, and a special programming, and now, therefore, I, Paula Devine, Mayor of the City of Glendale, proclaim April 9th through the 15th as National Library Week in Glendale, California, and invite Glendale residents to celebrate the Central Library reopening again on Monday, May 1st. That would be at 10:30 in the morning or 10 o'clock in the morning. Attend the Creation Celebration and Reopening Fundraiser Gala on April 28th in support of the new Central Library. There you go. Thank you. There is, I think Cindy mentioned that there's a whole day of experiences and programs, and I couldn't think of a word for it, but it'll be a whole fun day. 3:30 is the ribbon cutting for the children's library, so that should be fun as well.
The gala will have the big reveal on the Remembrance Room, kind of culminating the week of remembrance that you also had, and so we try to deal with that a little bit differently by way of the somber issues that it represents, but still very much a part of the library. Then we will pivot, and when we get to the opening on the 1st, I think you will see just a tremendous amount of activity. Lots of people filing through every corner of that community or the library.
So everybody be there. Okay, thank you. Next item.
Next item is the consent calendar, including minutes. The following are routine and may be acted upon by one motion. A member of council or the audience requesting separate consideration may do so by making such request before a motion is proposed.
I'll move the consent calendar.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Roll call, please.
Council members Garpetian?
Yes.
Najarian?
Yes.
Sinanian?
Yes.
Mayor Devine?
Yes. Next item.
Next item is city council and staff comments, item 5 on the agenda.
Anyone have comments?
Just a short
Councilmember
comment.
Sinanian?
So, next week, I will be, end of this week and all of next week, I'll be traveling to China, to Guangzhou, Hunan, and Beijing as part of an Eco-Rapid Transit Authority delegation, moving forward this project, working with MTA, their PPP department, trying to entice private entities and make this project a reality. Just last year in November, we were in Japan. Enormous amount of interest in Eco-Rapid Transit. The Chinese are very interested, and we intend to cooperate with whoever will be willing to provide a modern, speedy, clean means of transportation, taking us all the way from Artesia through downtown Glendale to downtown Los Angeles to Glendale to Burbank Airport and beyond. Very excited about it. And again, this is just one step in what I hope to be in our city's plans to get better connectivity to the rest of the county without relying on freeways and automobiles. So I'll be very excited to come back and report back on the results of the trip.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Thank you. Thanks, Madam Mayor. I think we're all glad the elections are over, at least the voting part. There's still some tabulations going on. We'll get the final results in a couple weeks. But there were, quite frankly, several issues in this campaign that bothered me, not just as a candidate, but as a resident of Glendale and someone who holds democracy very near and dear to his heart. So I would like, if I can get a second from someone on council, to get a report from the city clerk as to any of the irregularities and anomalies that were reported to his office, to election staff, or to the city attorney's office regarding some of the activities during the election. It's not my intent to single out any particular candidate or campaign, but rather to see if we can tighten up our policies, regulations, and ordinances to make sure that at no other election would any other candidate feel that things just weren't quite right.
I'll second that.
And I'd like to kind of piggyback on that and perhaps bring in the ordinance some items on ethics, so that I don't know how much they're mentioned in any of our ordinances or our rules and regulations for elections, but I think we should take a look at the ethics.
And if I could add, thank you, I would support that. And if I could add, although I understand that some of these irregularities are not in the enforcement arm of the city clerk or the city attorney, rather by the FPPC, I do understand there were some complaints made about FPPC regulations, reportings, proper identification on flyers, mailers. If you could include that in the report as well, I would appreciate that.
We will bring that back, and normally when we present the canvas of the final election results to the council, we include in that report any issues that rose during the conduction of the campaigns or the election cycle, and we will try to make that more robust and include as much information to the council as possible in this cycle.
Anyone else?
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you.
Garpetti?
Yes, I brought this issue of creating a historic village in Glendale about a few months ago, and I wanted to see if we can actively looking for it, and if we have to pass an ordinance or find a site for it when we come back, and we have full council to start looking into it seriously. So
That's something that's underway now. So yes.
is it
good.
okay? Thank you.
Good.
Thank you, Madam
I
Mayor.
would second that. Okay,
I have a quick
Councilmember
question to
Sinania?
staff as well. Now that the library is almost open, Central Library, I have no intention on giving up on the issue of the Maryland Paseo, expanding it beyond the small but increasingly popular sort of strip that's there now. So are we within I think within the context of something, it's coming back?
Yes, sir. We have a report coming back to you. We are engaging a consulting engineer regarding the parking structures. The parking is the major issue. So as soon as we get that to a point where we're comfortable and understanding what the dynamics are, then that would come back. Because there are some pretty neat things that can happen coming up soon.
Yeah, but I think everyone's noticed how much usage that small area gets. People love to just sit there, enjoy their coffee. Just imagine if we take over a block or 2 blocks. That's going to be a very viable, very popular open space for Glendale residents and the guests.
Kind of a shameless plug for Gen Korean Barbecue. When you look at the activity, and a lot of credit goes to your direction to say, get a signature restaurant there. Staff went out and helped to procure Gen Korean Barbecue, and you will see a line out the door, and people are making use of that Paseo area. So it's very exciting indeed.
Right. And there's going to be some changes in the leaseholds that hopefully will activate it even further.
Yeah. Maybe we can get a Hollywood Burgers there. Wouldn't that be fun? Okay. Is that?
Well,
yes.
I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but Madam Mayor, I understand this is your last full meeting
Yes,
as
it is.
mayor, unless we decide to give you a second year.
Oh. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Is there a doctor in the house? But maybe we'll wait. What's the tradition? Do we usually wait until the outgoing rotation? But I would like to give a preview and applaud your demeanor, your leadership throughout this year, which hasn't been an easy year. We've had a lot of issues, but that'll be my teaser for the next meeting when we properly applaud your efforts.
Thank you. I appreciate
Madam
that
Mayor, look
very
forward
much.
to doing that on May 2nd.
Thank you. Thank you.
Me too, for your second term.
Small gifts would be nice. No, I'm kidding.
And now Mr. Garpetti needs a chiropractor.
Well, and I wanted to congratulate my fellow council members for on their campaigns and their election victories. I know it's not certified yet. Thank you. I knew it was a C word, but I know it will be, and I'm happy to work with you for the next few years. I attended the Glendale We Own Our Community Health Initiative program at the Alex Theater. A committee was formed, and they developed an initiative so that all of the Glendalians, all of us, can become healthier through exercise and healthy eating. It was very well attended, and I hope that the initiative has a certain strategic plan, and I hope that the plan gets out to the community and we all begin to walk and run and bike and do whatever exercise we love to do, because it has to be something that you like to do, and that we all start eating healthier so that we can enjoy life here in our city. I said that evening that I felt it was our job as city council members to ensure the quality of life of our community members. And with this health initiative, we can hopefully ensure that you will be healthy while you're enjoying the quality of life here in our city. So I want to shout out, I know Scott Ochoa was a leader in that endeavor, and I want to... No, I'm not judging. But I want to thank all the other community leaders that were a part of that. It's a great initiative. And just in case, and I wanted to just throw this out, because I know a lot of times people say, well, what are you doing? Do you do anything besides city council? And I know that we all go to meetings, and all of us have been to like sometimes 2-3 meetings a day. And I just wanted to say and give a heads up to the next mayor that in the last 5 days I went to the City of Industry for Mayor Summit, to the SCAG meeting for Energy and Environment, Mayor's Roundtable at Union Station, which a lot of us, plus. So it is a big job, but it's an enjoyable job, and I know that we all love going to the meetings a lot, but it takes a lot of time, and I just wanted to let you know that we are out there and we're moving around and learning and trying to get information to bring back to our city. So it's been a pleasure to be your mayor. So next item, please.
Next item is community event announcements. This is a portion reserved for 3-minute announcements for events taking place around our community, which will be followed by a 3-minute general public comments.
Okay.
Period.
My first is, let's see, this is for Earth Day, and it's Seve Garabelton and Lauren Bow. Oh. I, of course, pronounced your name.
Madam Mayor, members of council, city staff, my name is Sabah Garabedian, Senior Community Services Supervisor for the City of Glendale's Community Services and Parks Department. I'm here with Lauren Bowe, Community Outreach Assistant with the Public Works Department. And our departments have teamed up to offer 2 events that are taking place this Saturday, April 15, at Pacific Community Center. The first event is the Community Services and Parks Department's annual Spring Extravaganza, which starts from 10 a.m. until 12 noon. The event features the department's Party on the Go rental packages with various carnival games, as well as our Glendale Rocks climbing wall. Magic Jump has donated a bounce house for children to have fun in. Maroon Ice Cream Distribution Company will be giving away free ice cream during the event. And Super King Markets has donated over 25 cases of water that we'll be distributing during both events throughout the day. EI School of Professional Makeup will also send their student volunteers to do face painting to the event participants. The event also features a photo area where the Easter Bunny will make visits to take pictures with participants. And the main event for the day is our egg hunt, which will turn our baseball field into a egg scavenger hunt area. Kids will be led by age groups, and they'll take the field, and 2 kids from each age group which find that special egg could turn in that egg for a special prize. Moving on, we ask that everybody stay and participate in our annual Earth Day celebration, which is going to take place at the same facility from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Attendees will learn about water conservation, zero waste best practices, solar energy innovations, pedestrian and bicycle safety, and other ways to reduce their environment footprint. This year's partners include Glendale Arts, Solar Schoolhouse, Athens Service, LA Conservation Corps, and Mattress Recycling Council. Earth Day activities consist of raffles, live music, interactive games, solar and electric exploration, rain and water harvesting and water conservation tips, traffic safety instruction, and how to fix a flat tire, and blender bikes. Rain Barrel International will be educating attendees on how to conserve water and will be distributing pre-ordered rain barrels. Courtesy of LA Conservation Corps and the Mattress Recycling Council, e-waste and mattress recycling collection will be held on Kenilworth Avenue off of Riverdale from 8:30 to 1:30. Also available on Kenilworth Avenue will be compost giveaways from Athens Service. Attendees can bring a bucket and pick up free compost material for their homes. For more information regarding the extravaganza, please call 818-548-4098. And for more information regarding Earth Day, please call 818-548-3900. We hope all of you and our viewing audience will be able to join us this Saturday and spend the day in our park. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, didn't you have this in the Central Park last year?
We had it at Central Park last year.
So we have to make sure everybody knows you've changed the location.
Yes, and
this
it's
year.
going to be at Pacific Community Center this year.
Yes. Okay, very good. It's a lot of fun. I remember that. Okay, thank you very much. Harvey Pearson, followed by Paula Shapiro.
Oh, I'm Harvey Pearson, Glendale, Los Feliz, honorable council members, and Mayor Devine. It's been estimated that 70% of seniors don't have a cell or smartphone. So when the newly elected Veg, according to how I was told his first name should be pronounced, you honorably re-elected council members, plus Mayor Devine, will very likely be attending the grand reopening celebration of the Central Library on April 28th. Please note, however, how, according to Mayor Devine herself, there will be no payphones anywhere on the premises, inside or out. This means that the Glendale Central Library will be the only central library in the region to not have a single pay phone. Now, the Burbank Central Library actually has a free pay phone. So there's nothing about the volume of calls and everything as far as Burbank's concerned. The Los Angeles Central Library has 2 such pay phones, and the Pasadena Central Library also has 2 pay phones. And the Pasadena Central Library, that is even after its own ongoing Central Library reservation is finished come this June.
I did email or ask staff, Mr. Ochoa, about the payphone, and
A combination of factors by way of the use, the maintenance, and the lack of interest from the telephone company to provide it, to the extent that exceptional customer service is practiced by all of our employees, particularly our public counters. If Mr. Pearson needs to make a call, I'm sure we can help him do that from time to time as he needs help. We'd be happy to do that. The idea of having the payphone that at best it can become an attractive nuisance the other 23 hours of the day that it's there in existence, and still not be anything more than a dilapidated piece of equipment. We probably can do much better for our residents by helping them if they have needs, and I think the front desk at the library, certainly in City Hall, we do that. And anyone that needs help, we provide help.
great. Okay, Paula Shapiro, followed by Artin Bismajian.
Madam Mayor and council members, I'm here to speak to you about the subject of the legalization of recreational marijuana. I understand that you are waiting to get some kind of guidance from the federal government, who is opposed to it. And I just want to say that I went to art school in 1968, right in the heyday of drugs, sex, and rock and roll, which you're probably all familiar with the reality of that. And no? Okay, well, okay. Not that you did it, but you learned about it.
Rock and roll, maybe. Rock and roll.
Okay, well.
I'll plead guilty to rock and roll.
Okay, well, I'm not saying I was either. I'm saying that the reality was out there. It was very, very prevalent. And maybe 6 months into my college courses as an art student, I was introduced to marijuana, and I took it. And the next thing I know, I was being introduced to hash, and I ate it. And then followed by that was mescaline and LSD. And after about 6 months of this, I realized that I was becoming degraded as a person. And it was a shocking revelation to myself. I was able to sort of step back from it and realize that this is not the life that I wanted to live, or the involvement of the people that were doing this around me. And so I disconnected from the whole thing. But I want to tell you that that making marijuana or any other drugs, available in the community is a disastrous decision, in my opinion. Young kids, there's a bunch of Boy Scouts in the back, they're Boy Scouts, but with that kind of accessibility in our community, next thing you know, they could be doing marijuana or hash or LSD, etc. It's not a far leap at all. It happens very quickly. And so I am just here to say, please disregard any communications about how much money this community will make from allowing it. If that's, candy or a carrot, and that's great, but it's in the long run, and just look a little bit ahead of that, and you're talking about lives that get ruined. You're talking about addiction. That marijuana is definitely a gateway drug, no question about it. I don't know about you. When I go out in the community and I drive around, I worry about who's been drinking and is illegally driving. Now, with this advent, I would also have to be worried about who's stoned, because believe me, you're not any more coherent with marijuana as with alcohol. It's just as bad. It's just more difficult, I imagine, for a policeman to detect it. So I'm, pleading with your good senses to disallow this, to opt out. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Artin Bismajian. Thank you. Thank you, Leo.
Hello, government. Good evening, everybody. I have question for my rent. You give me for me $1,500. I am not giving. I am retired, man. I am sick. My wife sick. What you do? Are you government? Or give me. I am Armenian. My name Artim Basmajian. 28 all years ago, I am Glendale, United States. 28. My home today is buy. You give me for me $1,500. I am no navigator. I am very. You say I don't know. Give. I might not see. Looking, you might see my eye. My ear no listen to my. I am sick man, 91 all year. Thank you so much. My question. Thank you. Your information I give Mr. Katsakian. Your information I will give.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everybody. I graduation, my government see Glendale. Are you very nice? Najarian, Sinanyan, Brejajanyan. I don't know. You have here Ara Najarian. I know see. Chemdes number Ovga. Thank you so much.
Madam Mayor, we'll take down the information and pass it on to the city manager's
Thank you
office.
very much. So let's move on to the next item.
Madam Mayor, before we move on to the action items, allow me to briefly make a announcement that the popular Glendale Mayor's Prayer Breakfast has now transitioned and is now, and the committee is working with the Glendale Religious Leaders Association, and it is going to debut as the new Glendale Gives Thanks Community Prayer Breakfast. This is the 54th annual one, and we ask individuals who have attended this event and have enjoyed it, and those who have been interested in attending it, to mark their calendars for November 9th. That is a Thursday. It will be held at the Glendale Civic Auditorium, its usual location. We're just letting people know about it now that it is the Glendale Gives Thanks Community Prayer Breakfast, and we were asked to put a placeholder.
Why the change in the name? It sounds kind of like an odd name. prayer breakfast. What, are we trying to be secular? Is that what it was?
I think it's interesting that the name change comes with the very close and direct association with the Glendale Religious Leaders Association. They themselves are taking the event over. I think what you end up saying is that most community events, small handful of people do an immense amount of work. And to the extent that it's right during the high holy season for many of these folks, they're busy getting ready for the Easter holiday. And I think they moved to the idea of something to give a reprieve to folks that had been doing the event and move it to a time when they could all be more engaged, Thanksgiving, more of a secular holiday. And then moving it to that Thanksgiving holiday, change the name to reflect that. I think it's really not much more than that.
So it's really no longer a mayor's prayer breakfast.
We'll still have involvement from the council, mayor, but the name change, as City Manager Ochoa mentioned, it reflects the month that it will be in and the spirit of that month.
I think you complained about it being so early in the morning.
I did,
so
yes,
much
and now look, see what I, it's all my fault. It's all my fault.
But what is the
See
new
now.
name again? Who made the
Community Gives
decision to
Thanks
change it?
prayer breakfast.
The Religious Leaders Association is the group that puts it on. So
they're organizing the meeting, the breakfast overall?
They have,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
And I think that's been part of the issue is you had a very small handful of folks, and they're getting to a point where they want to broaden. They want to broaden the reach of it. I will tell you, to their credit, I think initially they thought of maybe we'll just take a year off. And give everyone a chance to catch their breath. But other members of the association, the Religious Leaders Association, came back and said, if we take a year off, it may never come back. And this is important enough to the community. We need to keep the tradition alive. And so they pivoted a little bit and moved in this direction.
But I think it's only right that since it's my last meeting that I get blamed for everything. Go ahead, lay it on. Okay.
Under action items at 8A is Director of Public Works regarding fiscal year 2016-17 Americans with Disabilities Act, curb ramp installation and pavement repair program, and miscellaneous work at various locations. 8A1 is a resolution rejecting all the bids, dispensing with competitive bidding, and authorizing the Director of Public Works to negotiate and City Manager to execute a construction contract in an amount not to exceed $485,000 and approving a 15% reserve for contingency in an amount of $72,750 for the fiscal year 2016-17 Americans with Disabilities Act curb ramp installation and pavement repair program and miscellaneous work at various locations. Specification number 3594. 2 is the resolution of appropriation.
Okay, Mr. Ochoa and Mr. Galanian. Okay.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of City Council. The item before you is one of our capital improvement projects that primarily consists of ADA curb ramp installations in conformance with the new guidelines and pavement repairs, primarily in an area bounded by Brand Boulevard and Geneva Street, north of the freeway, 134 freeway, and south of Dryden Street. It also includes concrete improvements at 16 of our bus stop locations along Verdugo Road, Chevy Chase Drive, and Wilson Avenue, new sidewalk construction on Lowell Avenue and Justin Avenue, replacement of 2 sets of speed humps, and other miscellaneous items of work. We have received a grant that we are asking for appropriation, a TDA grant, Transportation Development Act, in the amount of $60,000, as well as $42,000 from our Prop C local return. Recently, we advertised for bids and received 7 bids. However, the 2 lowest bids that were below the engineer's estimate of $582,000. Unfortunately, though, all of the 7 bidders were deemed non-responsive in accordance with the bidding requirements and the Public Contracts Code. As an example, the lowest bidder was failed to submit the contractor safety requirement form. That's an OSHA requirement. And the second lowest bidder failed to use the updated bid form, and they used the old one. So we are requesting that you reject all these bids and authorize us to directly negotiate with the top 3 lowest bidders. We will come back to council with a recommendation to award, which will not exceed $485,000. these TD8 funds have a deadline for reimbursement and expenditure usage. That's why we're not recommending to rebid the entire process. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I'll move the item unless
Second.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
The second was from which council? Thank you. Council members Garpetian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Sinanian,
Yes.
Mayor Devine.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. It looks like a lot of work. A lot of work, huh? Next item.
He is Director of Community Services and Parks regarding landscape maintenance of general government facilities. Specification 3633 bid results. B1 is resolution rejecting all bids received on March 8, 2017 for the landscape maintenance of general government facilities. Specification number 3633, dispensing with competitive bidding, authorizing staff to negotiate with one or more of the bidders, and directing staff to return to the council with recommendation for award of a contract.
Okay, it's Mr.
We'll have Mr. Panosian give an overview because here again, as council has directed to seek out through competitive process the best contract pricing, occasionally the market throws curveballs, and here to talk about that is Coco.
Coco, okay.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Devine, members of council. I am Coco Panosian, Park Services Administrator for Community Service and Parks. The item in front of you today is related to the bid specification 3633, which is the landscape maintenance of general contract facilities. It's very small. So Park Services section is responsible for the maintenance of all landscape areas within the city. A couple of years back when we bid the landscape contract, we came to council and we asked for council's direction to set all the medians aside to allow a contractor to maintain and dedicate all the parks to park staff so that the parks are separated and our internal staff maintain all of our parks and recreational facilities, which we have 46 of, and all medians, fire stations, and most of the libraries, GWP sites, are maintained by a private contractor. We felt that is the best approach because the parks are heavily used by the public, and then when it comes to the landscape areas, it's limited public access, so we felt it is more efficient to divide the workload and move forward in that direction. And one of the reasons why we went about it that way is we felt it was more cost effective to have contractors maintain the medians. It reduces the liability of our staff being out in the medians, having to set up cones and cording things off on the roadway to conduct maintenance out there. On the opposite side, it increases the efficiency of having the park staff maintain the parks, because along with that comes our close coordination with the recreation staff, library staff, and other user groups for different events and programs they might have. And then we found that over the past few years, staff time has been a lot quicker to respond to issues and concerns that are out there in the field. We had a little bit of practice of having contractors maintain ARC several years ago, and in comparison with that, we felt this is the best approach for efficiency. And along with that, having our internal staff dedicated to the resources dedicated to areas of need, including our ball field maintenance, renovations, special projects that we conduct out in the field, emergency responses, and we also provide CIP support. Our current contract, it is with Parkwood Landscape Maintenance Incorporated. It was back in 2014, April 1st is when we got into contract. It literally expires in March 31st, which was just about a week ago. But we were able to extend that contract through June 30th, 2017, under the current standards and rates, which the monthly rates currently are about $30,668. And that monthly rate gets adjusted annually at times because we add some facilities and sometimes we take facilities away, or we make changes to the landscape that requires reduction in maintenance. So that monthly rate does fluctuate from different years depending on what changes we propose to the contract.
I'm sorry, one quick question.
Yes,
that $30,000 is for the medians and the parkways and the libraries and fire departments?
Yes, fire stations, Glendale Water and Power. It is approximately 125 sites incorporated in that, including medians, fire sites, GWP sites. And the new contract, as it's stated here, will be 129 sites. We're adding 4 new sites to it. A couple of them are still under construction. One of them being the Louise Harvard, the improvements that we're doing. Prop 89, is it? Prop 84 improvements. And then a couple of additional ones on Geneva and Louise on Monterey. We're adding a couple of sites that weren't on there. And then some additional improvements in that area will be added to the contract as well. The RFP process. We came to council, asked for direction on adopting the specifications and directing city clerk to bid. That was in January of this year, 31. February 22nd, we held our pre-bid mandatory meeting, and we had 5 firms attend, of which 4 of them submitted bids on March 8th. In evaluating the bids, these were the results. Parkwood Landscape came in the lowest monthly rate at $34,777. On a 3-year contract, it would be $1.25 million. This represents a 13% increase over current rates that we have. Second lowest bidder being Brightview Landscape at $43,985. This translates to a 43% increase over current rates. And the other 2 vendors, Mariposa Landscape and Oak Ridge Landscape, respectively, are a 50% increase and 100% increase over current rates. In our bid evaluation, we found that Parkwood Landscape, although they were the lowest bidder, they omitted addendum number 1, which was basically a clarification of the Public Contract Code, section 9204, and it relates to the claims and dispute resolution procedures. And given the fact that they had omitted the addendum, and in consulting with the city attorney's office, we felt that they are considered non-responsive and cannot be considered for the award. With them being out of the mix, the second lowest bidder was Brightview at $43,985 a month, which represents a 43% increase over the current rates. Staff believes that number could be a lot lower, and even though we anticipate an increase, given just your basic, the COLA increases or over the years, 3-4 years, we think 43% is a little too excessive. And then the contract, we believe, can be negotiated at a lower price from with current standards and frequencies than $43,000. With that, we are here to recommend that City Council reject all the bids received and direct staff to negotiate with 1 or more of the vendors. We would, if directed, we'll schedule those negotiations next week, the week of the 17th. And we will return to Council, preferably and hopefully on the 9th of May, to ask your blessing to award a contract. That is all we have to cover. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
You're probably wondering what we were doing up here while you were giving that presentation. I was dividing, or I had Mr. Garpetian divide 129 sites into $34,777 per month. And that came out to
$78.
Almost $300 a site. Isn't that expensive?
Madam Mayor, council members, certain sites are a little more expensive than others. We have a number of factors to consider. For example, the size of the area. We have some medians that are very small. It could be about $100, $150 a month to maintain. We're talking about 2 times a week visit. We don't have turf in most of our areas any longer, but it would be just shrub maintenance, litter maintenance, policing, or whatnot. Some sites require daily maintenance. For example, Montrose Mall, we visit on a daily basis. That tends to be roughly about $2,500 and $3,000 a month. And then places like Glen Oaks Boulevard, we're talking about a 5-mile stretch of median that is maintained. So depending on the size of the facility, what the landscape amenities are, and the frequency standards that we have in place, the cost varies from site to site.
So sometimes they come twice a month, and for other sites they come once a week, or?
That is correct, Madam Mayor. The only site that we have daily service is Montrose Mall. Most of our medians is bi-weekly, every other week that they visit. Most of our fire stations and GWP sites are also every other week service. There are a select few facilities that are monthly service because there's not much landscape, and mostly we're talking about litter control. And we've consulted with our counterparts in each department, and each department having their respective sites provided this direction to us to proceed with these frequencies for their respective sites, hence the way we set up the specification.
And when you say Montrose Mall, are you talking about the shopping?
Yes, my apologies. Montrose Shopping Park, correct.
Move the item.
One question. Speaking of Montrose Shopping Park, I think the landscaping there, it looks really awful. I'm telling you, I didn't know they're going there every day. If you look at the shrubs and everything, they're all dying, and half of them are on the street. I don't think they're going there every day. I don't think it's being maintained. If it's maintained on a daily basis, it wouldn't look that bad. I was going to ask who's doing the work, and it's Parkwood, right?
Correct.
And if you're signing a contract with whoever that is, the new contractor, or even if it's Parkwood, they have to really pay attention to the medians over there, because it's an area that we're trying to create a pedestrian-friendly area, and Montrose is, and Honolulu is, and I think we need to really pay more attention to it.
And if they have to replace plants, is that included in the contract? Like if, when you request plants and for the shopping?
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Garpetian, to the first question of them not providing service at a specific site, we evaluate the sites, and based on complaints that we receive, the contract is designed to penalize them for not providing a service and then adding liquidated damages. So it starts costing the contractor more money not to provide service. So we've enforced that on a couple of occasions, and we'll continue to do that to make sure they provide the level of service requested and required per specifications for each specific site. And Madam Mayor, to answer the question, if a landscape turned over to a contractor, if landscaping dies under their watch, they're responsible to replace those without any cost. However, if we ask them to re-landscape a site, or if we have to go in and ask for a change of the landscape and we hire the contractor to do it, those would be at a labor and material cost, which is additional to their monthly frequent visits to the facility.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion.
Second.
A roll call, please.
Council members Garpetian?
Yes.
Najarian?
Yes.
Sinanian?
Yes.
Mayor Devine?
Yes.
Madam Mayor, could we ask to take an item out of order, just in keeping with the same theme, and move to item D?
The safe routes?
Yes, it's in the same vein of our contract process, and Mr. Galanian can walk you through
That will
that.
be the next item.
Madam Mayor, 8D is Director of Public Works regarding Safe Routes to School Improvements Project Phase 3, Spec 3586. D1 is a resolution rejecting all the bids, dispensing with competitive bidding, and authorizing Director of Public Works to negotiate and the City Manager to execute a construction contract in the amount not to exceed $925,000 and approving a 15% reserve for contingency in the amount of $138,750 for Safe Routes to School Improvements Project Phase 3, specification number 3586.
I go to Mr. Galanian.
Yes, Madam Mayor, Madam Mayor, members, City Council. This is another one of our capital improvements projects upcoming in the next few months. This is through a state grant that we received to make safety-related improvements in the vicinity of Shamlian, Cerritos, Franklin, Thomas Edison, and Valley View elementary schools. It essentially includes curb extensions, painted crosswalks, pavement repairs, new sidewalks at some locations, and the installation of ADA curb ramps. Again, we recently advertised for bids and received 9 bids on March 8th. 5 out of the 9 bids were below the engineer's estimate of $1.12 million. Much like the ADA curb ramp installation project, unfortunately, all of the bids were submitted were deemed non-responsive, and thus we are requesting that you reject all those bids and authorize us to negotiate directly with the top 3 lowest bidders. We will again come back to council with a recommendation to award in the amount of not to exceed $925,000. The work is scheduled to be performed around the schools during the summer recess, so we don't have the luxury of rebidding the project that would delay the award and start of construction. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? I wanted to ask if, do the street improvements include flashing lights, the crosswalks, flashing lights, or anything that would make them more?
Yes, Madam Mayor, at some of the locations, the flashing beacons, yes.
Okay, great.
I'll move the item.
Second? Anyone?
Second.
Roll call?
Council members Garpetian?
Yes.
Najarian?
Yes.
Sinanian?
Yes.
Mayor Devine?
Yes. And the last item, please. Next
8C is
item.
Director of Public Works regarding update on wastewater rates and commencement of Proposition 218 notice and hearing process for the purpose of adopting new wastewater rates. C1 is a motion authorizing staff to commence the Proposition 218 notice and hearing process for the purpose of adopting new wastewater rates.
Thank you. Mr. Charles?
Yes, ma'am. We want to talk briefly about the initiation of a process and the commencement of a rate-making strategy that I think reflects all that we've learned over the last several years, certainly, to ensure that the wastewater utility remains both a exceptional piece of infrastructure, yet at extremely competitive and value-based rates. And so I think what we would like to talk with you is in looking at the very unique elements of the Glendale system and what is needed as we move forward. So today we have a very robust system. Again, we are the fourth largest city and the most populous county in the nation, and that comes along with major infrastructure. And in our case, when it comes to the sights and sounds and smells of the wastewater system, we're talking about 360 miles of wastewater pipes that move throughout the entire community, and in particular, two elements of our sanitary sewer wastewater infrastructure are our treatment facilities. The vast majority of communities in LA County connect to LA County's system. We, as one of the larger cities and an older city, along with several others, actually are independent. We have a standalone system, and as such, we connect to the LA Glendale Reclamation Plant, LAGWRP, that the council toured, I believe it was a year and a half ago, as part of the Work Boot Tuesday programs, where you saw where they make that gravy, and we extract the recycled water that we are able end up to use. Our partners in LA City use that as recharge for the river, and we also are a part of the amalgamated system, which people commonly refer to as the Hyperion plant. So if you've ever been to the South Bay, Hermosa Beach, Manhattan Beach, you see the big plant that is there just south of the airport. That's amalgamated, and that's another significant element in our infrastructure. So we are co-owners, although LA operates LAGWRP, we sign on to the Hyperion plant, the reclamation plant there. The interesting thing about our process, both we are proud of this fact, but also it's the thing that concerns us a little bit, is that we haven't increased sewer rates, wastewater rates since 1999. Over these 18 years. That is significant and impressive because, as we'll detail in just a second, we've been able, by way of our capital relationship with our partners, to generate significant savings of fund balance in this enterprise fund. This is an enterprise that operates separate from the general fund, much like a business would, except that it is a business unit owned by the city of Glendale. So we have been able to move through these last 18 years without any kind of rate increase. Now, if you were to apply a 2% rate increase going back to 1999, you'd be at about a 42% increase from what our rates are today to what they should be if you only applied that CPI. Obviously, again, we have not done that. How are our rates structured? There's a flat fee that goes on your municipal services bill. So if you have an electrical meter, if you have an electric account with us, you get the $2.30 a month fee. If you are a single-family resident, then you get a $1.23 per 100 cubic feet of water used. That's an important distinction and something that is accepted as an industry standard by the way that you calculate wastewater rates. You use the water inflow that crosses through your meter onto your property. Now you say, why do we use the winter water charge? Well, that is typically in Southern California the lowest period of usage, and so we give the benefit of the doubt to the customer for purposes of wastewater to base the wastewater variable rate off of that winter usage. If we were to base it off, say, the summer usage, when people are filling their swimming pools and trying to keep their grass green as much as we can, although now that the drought's over, apparently, we can go back to watering. We'll have that discussion at a later time.
Can you repeat that?
I knew he was going to catch me on that. And so you could do it, but that means that these fees and charges would be higher because that's the higher water usage period of time. So,
quick
yes,
question. On average, how many cubic feet of water a single family house uses in a winter time?
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Garpetian, it's about 1,300 cubic feet or just over 9,700 gallons a month.
On winter time?
Winter time.
And so we use that to base your annual rates, your year-long rates.
Okay, so it's $1,300 times $1.39?
1,300 gallons.
1,300.
Or cubic feet. Now you got me doing it. Cubic feet.
Divided by 100. Divided by 100.
Times the
Times
1.23.
So it's $13.
Right. So your actual rate, for generally speaking, your rate is about $18. You know, Bob Bailey, we've all been kind of coming into work now and showing each other a municipal services bill. Bob with 3 people in the house, I think he's at $16 a month. I'm at about $17.50 a month with 4 people in the house in a very cozy 1,800 square foot home, has been pointed out to us a number of occasions. So you pay. Everyone pays the flat fee, and then everyone pays the variable based on the type of customer you are and your amount of usage. So you see the multifamily charge at $131, and then you see on the commercial customers the low strength, medium strength, high strength, really relating to the type of business that is there in that commercial account. Low strength being your general commercial stores. It's something that is commercial. Medium is going to be food stores and gas stations. And then the real big ones, the industrial and bakery product manufacturers, just as account types, are the ones where they need that flow and they need that ability to handle all the wastewater that comes out of those facilities. But those rates, again, have been in place since 1999. As I mentioned just a second ago, this shows you the rates compared to other cities similar to Glendale. And so you see we're at $18.29 on average for that single-family residential user. Burbank is next to us, and they've increased their rates, and they will increase them again in the coming year. People always ask, well, what about Pasadena? How come you compare with them many times, but you don't compare with them here? Pasadena is one of those cities that I mentioned earlier that actually connects to the county system as opposed to being responsible through the LA system for their own treatment. So these cities are very similar to Glendale in the scope, although perhaps not the size, as you look all the way to the right with the city of Los Angeles at $55 a month. And that's a reflection, I don't mind telling you, is a reflection of the under-maintenance and the under-building for capacity that the City of LA Bureau of Sanitation experienced for quite some time, and ultimately, through litigation from third parties like Baykeeper and Heal the Bay, were forced to expand and improve their system, resulting in a significant investment that ultimately gets passed on to their ratepayer. In Glendale's case, I am very pleased and proud to tell you that we have a sewer system, a literally award-winning sewer system that is recognized, it seems like, every other year for the limited, if almost non-existent, overflows that we have. And that comes from the regular maintenance that you've seen these past 20 years. I'll give you an example in terms of the O&M cost, the operation and maintenance cost, and the CIP cost, capital improvement cost in this rate plan. You see on the right-hand side, the 16-17 fiscal year, our local operations management about $5.35 million, LAGWRP is about $2.37, and then Hyperion/Amalgamated 5.1. So the total costs for the current year for operation and maintenance are about $12.9 million for this very robust system that we have. Now, we will see an increase in those factors as we go forward, and therein lies the rub by way of the rate plan that we're putting before you. And then when you look at CIP costs, you see there again, from local, meaning City of Glendale, the very significant investment, that 10.2 is the second half of that, the Chevy Chase sewer lift project, where we are actually pushing more of our wastewater, more of our sewage to LAGWRP, to our facility that we co-own with LA and divert it from Hyperion. Why? Because it's less expensive there. We will save, as you recall from the initiation of this project, about $1 million a year that is factored into this program. So the idea has been that over time we would build up a reserve, and then we would pay for major infrastructure investments, not through bonding, not through borrowing, but by drawing down reserves, and that is exactly what we're doing here. When you see local CIP in years 17-18, 18-19, and 19-20, you say, wow, it's only $348,000, $389,000. That's a reflection of the ongoing drumbeat of depreciation costs that we factor in these last 20 years in particular, as well as the singular larger projects projects that come along once every decade or generation even. Now, when we look at going forward, we look back at the last 10 years, you'll get an idea of how were we able to do that? How were we able to have this amazingly robust infrastructure system and not increase rates for 8 years? When you look at the LAGWRP costs, the O&M costs, you'll see the difference between LAGWRP and amalgamated. Here, from 2010 all the way to 2014-15, you see their operations and maintenance, and they're pretty evenly matched, what they projected and what they actually cost for operation maintenance. There again, when you look at the lower table for CIP costs, very similarly, what they projected and what the actual cost was. Some cases a little bit over, some cases a little bit under. But when you look at amalgamated, particularly when you look at, you look both at O&M as well as what the CIP costs are, what you see, the dynamic here, is that the projected cost is going to be, in the case of the 2010-11 year, $6.89 million. They actually only spent $3.14. In the following year, they said they would spend $7. They only spent $3. And that trend continues to the tune of millions of dollars, both in O&M and CIP. Now, on the one hand, I will tell you that, as you see, that there are significant dollars being spent on operations, maintenance, and CIP at the amalgamated plant. But they simply cannot get to every expenditure that they identify in their master capital improvement project. And because this is an enterprise fund, when we don't spend monies in the sewer fund, the wastewater fund, that doesn't get swept away someplace else. That just trickles back into the sewer fund's fund balance. So to the extent that we have a rate structure, a rate plan that brings dollars in that we ultimately are using for O&M and for CIP, and it doesn't get used and it gets trickled back into the fund balance, that money is there for next year's operations and maintenance and CIP. And we've done that for about 20 years. But as all good things must come to an end, it's time to recalibrate those rates. So we are looking really at a 12-year horizon, the first 4 years being the key here. When you look at our current rates that I had showed in a few slides ago, the flat fee, the variable for single-family, multifamily, commercial, and so on, you see that and highlighted there in the light color there. And then when you look at the proposed rate structure for the next 4 years, 17-18 to 2021, you see the increases. Now, it's easy to get lost in the fact that these are relatively small amounts, but the percentages, I have to tell you, in this first year are significant. We are looking to, in restructuring the rates, make sure that the utility, that the sewer enterprise is paying the fully burdened share of the costs that get allocated to that utility. From billing to security to the overall organization that supports the utility. That all gets put into the cost structure that you see here. $2.30 flat fee becomes $2.96. The $1.23 variable rate becomes $1.58, and so on as you see that. When you look at the table, the bar chart at the bottom of the screen, you see what the net impact is. We go from $18 and what did we say that was, 29 cents to $23.50, some $5.21 increase per month. Not a huge amount of money, but certainly it could be a huge amount of money for somebody, $60 a year. However, when you look at what the rate structure is for the other utilities that we compare with all of the rate increases that you've seen in some of those neighboring cities, we're still at the bottom end, which I think, again, demonstrates the value of the system that we have, the investments that you've made, and this notion of basically operating the sewer utility on a pay-go basis. We accumulate savings and then we spend those savings without generating the cost for borrowing or indebtedness. When you look at the element, the animating element for this discussion of building up reserves, how do you make sure that you're not generating too much in reserves? Well, our goal, as I said, if we look over a 12-year horizon, our goal is to tack back to the middle in 4-year increments. And so after the first 4 years, we'll be able to look back by 2021 and decide, bring back to the council, have we been able to do all the scheduled maintenance? Have we reserved revenue in savings and in reserves for those large singular projects like Chevy Chase? And have we been able to keep the rate structure what it needs to be? When you look back here at the proposed rate structure, there is a significant jump in that first year, and then it levels out over the coming years. That's by design, again, to catch up over these last 20 years without a rate increase. However, by the time we get to fiscal year 21-22, what we're hoping that we'll be in a position to do is basically hold on to CPI, 1%, 1.5%, 2%, whatever the CPI is, and so we never get to a point where we don't have sufficient reserves, targeted reserves in the enterprise for those large, significant types of projects. The idea for our reserve accounts, 1/2 of the total operating expense, and 1 year's typical CIP cost, which we have gauged at $8 million looking historically, and then adjusting that for CIP. And so our goal would be by 21-22 to have about $17.4 million there at any given time for any of these projects. And it could tack higher if the council sees, for example, when you look at a chart like this, along the bottom, all of the capital improvement costs, these aren't Lagwerp, these aren't amalgamated, these are Glendale. These are our expenses, being able to pay for these year over year, pay-go capital, so that you always have the savings in the bank to do this. We are unique in the ability for the sewer utility to have been appropriately managed by the council and the department, so we don't have the drastic swings such as what we experienced with GWP in 2011-12. So we have the luxury of being in this rather secure environment such that we can plan for the future in a way that makes the most sense to the ratepayers as well as to the rate makers. As I noted at the beginning, this is the beginning of a process. By Prop 218, we have to send out a notice. Rather than just send out a blank notice to folks or a bland kind of generic notice, we wanted to make sure, as our custom is, we come to the council, introduce the rate plan to you. If you allow us tonight with the motion authorizing staff to commence, we will send out the approvals to all of our customers. We'll schedule at least two community meetings for the coming month. And the idea is then to incorporate this rate plan into the budget process. So the budget has its hearing on the 6th. That's when we would do the introduction of the ordinance. The following week, we have the actual adoption following the public hearing. That's when we would hope that you would approve and adopt the rate increase ordinance, and it would become effective 30 days afterwards. With that, Mr. Galanian or I would be happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Garpetian?
And this is a fee. It's not a tax.
Yes, sir. That's a great point.
A fee increase.
Absolutely. Very clearly a fee for service.
Fee for service is not a tax, so we won't. Okay.
Unlike the utility user tax measure, and where that is very clear, it is a tax. This is a fee for service.
And it is totally legal according to Prop 218. We're
Yes,
sticking with Prop 218.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Najarian?
Just a question. In the operations and maintenance side, is this a relatively heavy FTE intensive process? Are there a lot of employees? Are we paying for a lot of salaries, or is it a lot of equipment and supplies? And
it's actually, I'll tell you, it is not overloaded with employees. Certainly not overloaded in management. I think this is an area that, in fact, quite the contrary, we have some concerns that we're too thin. The new director, assistant director that Mr. Galani will be bringing on will alleviate some of the burden for the deputy director that oversees all of our maintenance services, including this. So I don't think that we are overstaffed in the least. To the extent we have equipment, there is specialized equipment, the jetters that we use, some of the smaller stuff like the cameras that we'll use. The big ticket items are the infrastructure. The actual, you're seeing it now, $19 million being expended on a system where, if you think of all the inconvenience, and we apologize for the inconvenience, on San Fernando Road, drilling down some 30 feet in two different points, and because that's how it's all gravity fed, and then we pump different places. Mr. Galani can give you the engineering on it, but the idea being, rather than trench that entire street, we dig 2 holes and then put an auger that goes and connects. The point being, those projects are extremely expensive. That's where the bulk of that cost exists for this utility. And I think what you're seeing, to the extent that we have had an ongoing scheduled replacement of our mains and our lines, the utility is very streamlined, very efficient, but not such that it becomes a liability to the city. It's in great balance.
I'm just anticipating what the critics will invariably say is that we're paying for salaries and pension and PERS, but there's really a lot more to it in terms of the operations and management.
Yes, sir. There truly is. A lot of that heavy infrastructure work will be done by a contractor as well. Certainly the project like the Chevy Chase is. I think the tremendous pride that you take in the employees that are working in the sewer operation is that they do a tremendous job of monitoring, maintenance, and cleaning. And so we keep a trim crew on to do all this work throughout the entire city. But I would tell you that we are in no way, shape, or form overstaffed in this environment. In fact, succession planning is something that keeps Mr. Galanian up at night, because we have a handful of key employees that are getting to a point where they soon will retire, and we need to make sure that the next generation behind them is willing and able to step up, and that we have other young folks that want to join the ranks. People may not think of it, and I think Rubik will tell you, and I don't think you have to be an infrastructure geek to say this is something that you can get excited about, and it is a tremendously positive service that's being provided. It's a great career for folks, but we got to get people in the front door that want to work for Glendale Public Works in the wastewater operation. The only negative I would tell you is that they don't shake hands, they touch elbows. For obvious reasons, but it is, and they will too. They'll tell you. But it's a very streamlined operation.
We need a new batch of Ed Nortons.
We do indeed. We do indeed. Somebody get me Art Carney.
Yeah. I'm just wondering how many people would know that, would get that. Councilmember Najarian.
Old timers. Got to be on council. Got to be on council 12 years to understand.
Any other comment? I just wanted to make a comment that just kind of, is the glass half full or half empty? And, everyone will pay the flat fee, but the variable cost, that can be controlled by our residents, because if they continue to conserve and don't use more water, then that variable cost will not go way up. They can actually control it. So we just say continue conservation, or increase conservation, and your bill will can remain somewhat.
Absolutely
the same.
can, and I will tell you, anyone who's had a sewer backup on their property, their sewer lateral, will tell you that $18, $23 a month is a bargain versus bringing in the professionals to clean out your home. Make no mistake about it.
All right. Do we have a motion? Any other comments?
I'll move the item at 8C1.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Council members Garpetian?
Yes.
Najarian?
Yes.
Sinanian?
Yes.
Mayor Devine?
Yes. Next item.
Next item is oral communication, and there was one card submitted from Nori Badasyan.
Okay, Nori?
Madam Mayor,
good evening.
council members. I have a little problem with the city. I have a building at 436 West Colorado, and it's an office building, and it's there almost 50 years. And one of my office spaces, somehow city doesn't have any record. So I'm trying to get a unit number, but it's almost 2 months. I'm running around and I'm not getting anywhere. So I would like to ask your help, because this is not good. I have a tenant. They're trying to do the business, and they apply for a license, and they're saying there is no such a number. I provide them a site plan, I provide a unit, I provide all the pictures, everything to them, and I request that it takes 5 minutes to just walk to that office and look at it. They would see that's existing. So they can just apply that 225 is that unit, and nobody can do it.
Mr. Ochoa, can we get that address and
Yes,
have
ma'am.
this gentleman
We'll,
immediately?
I don't quite know what the issue would be, but we'll have a young man named Alan Castillo will be in contact with you tomorrow, and he
Matter
will
of
be
fact,
able
I
to.
have a appointment tomorrow again with, I don't know if it's going to work or not, with John Bear.
Jan Bear?
Yeah.
Jan Bear?
John Bear. And also I left the 3-4 messages for Ron Billing, and they haven't called me back. So this is really bad. I mean, I'm going every time to the city, and they're saying, okay, next week. And this is long time, and I don't know what to do.
Okay, so can we get Jan Bear to call him tomorrow? Or Alan?
I would appreciate it.
Mr. Bedassa.
Mr. Garpetti has a
question.
Mr.
Can I get your phone number, please? Thank you.
You have a question?
Yeah, Mr. Garpetian has a question for the gentleman.
Mr. Nori,
Mr. Nord? Question?
I have a question for you.
From Mr. Garpetian?
Is this to obtain the business registration certificate, the BRC,
It's a just license for business.
to occupy the unit?
That's right. The unit is occupied, and all the time been occupied. By this particular tenant, they're trying to do some kind of business. They need some kind of city license, just like all other business. And even myself, when I was occupying one of my spaces, I had the same problem. When I came in there and requested, they said even there is no such a building. There is no such a building. They took for
take
me
care of
like
it
a 2 or 3 weeks, but at least they have supplied that number.
Take care of it tomorrow.
Appreciate it.
Next item.
Is there any new business?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I have a new business. I move that the city attorney be and hereby is authorized to enter into a legal services agreement with the law firm Mercer Thompson LLC to draft and negotiate an engineer, procure, construct contract for the city of Glendale, and to incur all necessary expenses in connection therewith. The agreement shall, in addition to other provisions, contain a fee cap and estimated budget for the handling of said matter.
Second.
Roll call.
Council members Garpetian?
Yes.
Najarian?
Yes.
Sinanian?
Yes.
Mayor Devine.
Yes. Next item.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Again, we are adjourned at 7:38. Good night.